live. We're live. I know I said I won't be doing any streaming during the week, but I wanted to do this during 4th of July weekend in celebration of it. Doing a Marvel Superheroes beginner's guide for Captain America, and I couldn't do that due to the fact I had family get together for lunch and pretty much spent most of the day recuperating after that, so I couldn't do that. But anyway, I'm going to make up for it with it today by doing this. So anyway, we're going to be doing, let's actually restart the whole thing before we do anything else. All right, we're going to select Captain America for both characters, and then we're going to get started. So for anyone who reads Marvel Comics, you'll pretty much know that Captain America is one of the most earliest comic book heroes, debuting around the time World War II took place, along with a large handful of heroes introduced to the Marvel comic book series at that time, as well as DC Comics. He's very iconic because he's pretty much one of the more patriotic heroes to be ever featured in comics. And he continues to do that even up to this day in general. Of course, the character's undergone many changes in his throughout his entire history, most notably Civil War and Hydra Cap for some of those examples. But for the most part, he's one of the main characters you play for Marvel Superheroes that was made by Capcom. Of course, this game's loosely based off of the Infinity Gem Saga, which was being done during the early 90s. And of course, Cap was one of the few heroes remain that was still alive before he was defeated by Thanos and killed. Of course, he and most of the other defeated heroes were revived after that. So basically, my apologies. Cap and Spider-Man are pretty much both the Ken and Ryu of this game, pretty much. Though, unlike Spider-Man, who has the actual move set of Ryu and a Ken, Captain America is a bit different because his charging star is not quarter forward kick. It's actually half quarter front circle for with kick for the charging star. But for the most part, he and Spider-Man pretty much play pretty much almost well balanced. But Spider-Man's more of a combo fanatic as opposed to Cap. But that doesn't mean Cap's combos are anything to sneeze at either. Unfortunately, since this is a beginner's guide, I do want to go over a few disclaimers. This will not feature a whole lot of combos. In particular, this is just made to help beginners. And I'm not a very good character player for Cap in general. I do play him every now and then, but I mostly play Blackheart. But I am going to put out a beginner's guide to help newcomers getting into these games now that the Marvel vs. Capcom collection are out. I might do one for every character at a future date, but for right now, we're just going to go over Cap's move sets and everything we need to go over. We'll be covering his movement first. Then we're going to go cover his norms. His punch norms are going to be different depending on whether or not he has his shield or when he has it equipped, because the attack animations are very different. But each of them have very different damage tallies, as you can see right here at the corner of my screen. We'll keep that in turn, as well as the frame data, etc. So let's go ahead and get started with his move list. Of course, right after we get done with the norms, we'll cover his throws. Then we're going to cover his specials and his supers. And then we'll probably be done thereafter. So anyway, in regards to movement, Cap has pretty decent walk speed for the most part. Now, of course, when he does dashing, you don't have to hold after the second dash. You can literally let it go and he just runs. Now, sometimes you need to hold down the button for certain characters to dash all the way, but as you can definitely tell, Cap can easily get back to the both forward and back with his dashes. So this actually makes him pretty good if you're good at psyching enemies out here. And this is a little combo I figured out pretty much. So Cap's combo game is pretty much on ground series. It's basically stronger, so you go from weak, stronger, then to the next strongest button. Of course, the fierce doesn't occur until you hit the opponent, that is. And of course, for aerial combos, he does zigzag. So I'm not very good at the zigzag combos, but for those of you that do know, more power to you. But anyway, now that we covered his dashing and walking, let's go over his jumps. So he has pretty good jump speed when you're not doing super jumps. But once you commit to yourself to one direction, you're going to find yourself a little bit harder to maneuver around. But those that can master Cap will be able to position themselves pretty easily for cross-ups. Of course, I'm not very good at cross-ups, but as you can definitely tell, a super jump is very hard to control once you start making your way down. So if you're having difficulty doing super jumping with Cap, it's probably best to assign the triple kick button to one of your buttons, which is what I do for most characters. But yeah, as you can definitely tell, Cap gets more speed when he does forward super jumping, and actually has a little bit more height than a singular jump, but a little bit less when he does a backwards jump. And you can even do a jump from crouching too. But yeah, you can definitely tell that Cap's super jump is actually effective if you're based on your directions and whatnot. So that basically covers his movements. So we're going to go over and cover his normals. Sorry, this is not scripted, by the way. So we'll go over his light punch first. So this is his standing light punch, ducking, and jumping. So we're going to do this. So each of these have different ranges. So we're going to discard this. And this is basically when his light punches without his shield, of course. Now that we cover those, we're going to go ahead and cover the standing medium punch, which is essentially one of his two launchers. The other being his crouching fierce. And these can be very useful when you want to set up your launcher game, pretty much, if you're into your air combos. So this is his crouching medium. This could be linked into a medium shield slash, by the way, if you want to go for shorter combos, or even to into a stars and stripes, or even charging star. Of course, you have to be quick on the inputs. On the other hand, his jumping medium is not very good because the hitbox just about almost goes away pretty quickly. So you have to be very quick with your inputs. So we're going to throw away the shield, and now we're going to change. This is all of his attacks without the shield, of course. So now we're going to cover his fierce punch. This is a standing, which has pretty good range. It almost covers the middle portion of the screen, and it's pretty good for poking if you want to keep your enemies away from you. This is his crouching fierce, and that's also one of his also serves as one of his launchers. Yeah, as you can definitely see, I'm pretty much a noob when it comes to zigzag air combos. And this is actually his standing jumping fierce, and it's actually got pretty good range here. So this is basically capped without his shield on with the fierce. And of course, his attack animation with that is a lot different. And by golly, he actually hits pretty hard with this as opposed to his shield. But anyway, that covers his fierce punches. So now let's go over his kicks. So we're going to go over his light kicks first. Light kick is pretty decent if you want to hit enemies on low. And that can be used to set up a 2-hit combo for your launch. And his aerial light kick is actually pretty good during an air combo. Probably his best one to start off with as opposed to his light punch. Both of them are actually pretty good for starter air combos. So Cap has a pretty interesting animation when it comes to his medium kicks, because you can press it twice and he gets 2. What I do right here is my own personal combo, which is light punch, 2 medium kicks, and then a heavy punch to go with it. Sorry if I used the old-fashioned fierce, but that was how it was said back then. But anyway, that's a pretty good 2-hit starter. This is his jump in. That's actually a pretty good jump in starter. Not a huge damage dealer, but it's still pretty good. And this is his secondary low medium. You can do that for his knockdown here. Now, if you're fast enough, you can get a low shield slash on that one. Anyway, that covers the medium kicks. So this is his standing heavy kick. That's actually a pretty dang good move, actually. Pretty good for stopping dashers and even putting a small break on your attack there. Now, you can also stop your forward dashes with down forward. This could be done with most characters. Of course, not all of them. And this is his down fierce. That's a simple sweep. And this is his air fierce. Now, he has a different air fierce. If you hold down during your jump, you can do this, and that could be also used as a spike during air combos. And you can use that. So if you're good enough, you can actually cancel your jumping fierce into down heavy kick to get a two-hitter or end your combo that way. So that covers his norms. So now we're going to cover his throws. So with your medium punch or fierce, you can do this. So they both deal the same amount of damage. Of course, depending on, sometimes they'll go up high and sometimes they'll go lower. So it's forward or back, medium punch or fierce punch. Now Cap has this throw, which he does with either medium kick or heavy kick. And you can also do that if you're very good with air combos. You can basically follow that up with an air combo there with this throw. Now you can do this with either forward or back. And like certain characters, Cap has an air throw, which you can do with this. That can be done with either your forward air, then toward medium or heavy punch there. And you get your spike right there. Alright, so now that we've gone over the throws, let's go over his specials, which are his meat and potatoes, of course. Cap is one of the several characters in the Marvel games that has a projectile that, depending on the strength of your punch, will affect your overall special. In this case, your shield slash, which is basically Captain America's classic shield throw, is basically altered depending on your punch strength. They do the same amount of damage. Well, close enough, but their trajectories are always different. So with light punch, you'll always have this. This actually works if you can do this, if you're lucky enough. Unfortunately, my opponent's at the edge of the screen, but technically the general idea is to hit your opponent with the shield slash while they're on the ground. Basically right there. So basically all you have to do is just use this, and if you're close enough, you'll get your shield right back automatically. So medium shield slash also does pretty much the same amount of, well, actually the low punch does. That's weird. How come the medium is doing less? Yet the low punch is doing like more. So actually low punch actually deals more. Medium punch actually deals less. And then for the heavy version, that actually does 18. I don't know why medium does least. But anyway, they pretty much do what they're supposed to be doing. So if you're very good with Cap's non-shield methods, you don't need shield slash. You won't be able to do shield slash while you don't have the shield equipped. Of course, having the shield unequipped also opens up some pretty interesting moves with the next two moves. So we'll discard this briefly for Stars and Stripes. Actually, I'll keep that on. Never mind. So Stars and Stripes is our next special move. This is actually Captain America's Dragon Punch. Pretty much, it's a shoulder thrust move that basically allows him to intercept any enemies attempting to jump in from the air. So as you can definitely tell, this one covers a little bit more to the ground. The medium covers higher. Then heavy punch, of course, covers much larger range. Now, both of them, I think all of them deal the same amount of damage, and but I could be wrong. And as you can definitely tell, the damage is actually more different depending on your strength. Now, Cap does have a pretty interesting method for shield stars and stripes without the shield. So medium actually hits 2. So if you put Cap without the shield and you do heavy stars and stripes, you get a tiger blow move right there. Now, of course, the guy had his tiger uppercut changed to tiger blow, and those in the alpha games, those racked it up mobile hits, which is always nice if you want to go for a mini combo. So now we're going to go over charging star as his next option. So of course, each one is this one requires half chord forward, half circle forward kick, and your range depending on your strength of your kick. So light goes only halfway through the screen. Medium almost goes near your opponent, but not near. And then, of course, your heavy one will hit your opponent at the very far end. Now, if you're very close with the shield, Cap can always guaranteed. Now, if I can get this to go off, he'll always get a guaranteed 2 hits if you're very close to your opponent. Of course, it does affect your overall damage. Now that we've gone over charging star, actually, let's go ahead and discard the shield. This is basically what happens when he gets without a shield. And of course, it's still the same thing, but the animation's more different. But overall, when you're up close performing charging star, you're basically guaranteed 2 hits whenever you do it up close. Your damage will always change depending on your strength for the move overall. But technically, Cap's charging star doesn't change much when you switch to without the shield. Of course, the only thing that does change is your damage output, pretty much. And actually, Cap actually does more damage with his moves without the shield when he does any of his supers outside of shield slash. Now, Cap has one final special move. It's not really an offensive tool, but it's actually more of a movement move, which is basically the cartwheel. The cartwheel allows Cap to be temporarily invincible until he successfully performs the overall move. And basically, what it does is basically lets you cross over your opponents pretty easily, or avoid certain attacks. Don't really have a whole lot of knowledge about cartwheel. I think you're pretty much invincible when you're performing this move, for the most part, but you can get right behind your opponents. So if you're very close to them, you can perform cartwheel and get right past your opponent and get right behind them. So that could set you up some cross-up tricks. But what I do for the most part is do this. Set up throws. But basically you can set up any trick you want. Okay, the game's just not letting me do my cartwheels. But technically you can set them up for your opponents for throw loops, or go for combos, get right behind them if they're trying to turtle or whatever. And if it does give you invincibility frames, you will be able to avoid some attacks. Of course, you won't be able to avoid everything they throw at you. Now, there is one thing I did forget to mention. Cap, along with Psylocke, also have double jumps. It's not really a special move, but it does give Cap a possibility of doing mobile jumps. And this can also be done during your super jump. So that'll give you some extra height for extend your air combos if you do want to use that. So if you want to change your lineup so that you can cross up your enemies, you can also do that. That's usually the common method most high-level players with Cap will usually use. So anyway, Cap has 2 super meter levels, and his is going to be Final Justice. This is actually Cap's Rambo super, and basically what it does is that when he performs what appears to be a mix of Stars and Stripes and Charging Star together, basically what he does, he'll knock the opponent up, then he'll do multiple normal super, then he'll do throw the enemy up in the air and then do an air throw on them for the inside drop. Now, of course, in the later crossover games, he gains the ability to cause an explosion when they defeat the enemy like this. Now, one thing I do want to go over is the power gem. So basically, when you get power gem and activate with Cap, his specials will gain the ability to perform shadows. Charging Star gains that effect, and that becomes a permanent effect in later crossover games. Of course, his Hyper Stars and Stripes, depending on strength, will change as well, becoming a multi-hitting super, to put it in a more plain word. And of course, even his Shield Slash gets the ability to gain mobile hits as well. So basically, Cap gains some nice perks when the Power Gem gets used. So make sure to have those applied whenever possible. So if you are going for combos, I can give you a few miscellaneouses. One of the things I can do is you can always do any of your Shield Slashes after a crouching medium. You gotta be very quick though. And you can even do this with Charging Star and or Stars and Stripes. But if Charging Star is not working, you can always go for Stars and Stripes, or just go for Shield Slash. But that works too. Now, if you see me do this earlier, I go for this light punch, 2 medium kicks, and a heavy. Now, of course, you'll probably get intercepted in actual online matches, so if you're not comfortable about going for a full 4-hit combo, you can always stop at the first medium kick. Now, always remember your ground combos are always stronger. So that means go from light to stronger. That'd be light, medium, then heavy. Now his aerial move or his aerial combos are always going to be zigzags. So it's always going to be a mix of either going light kick, medium punch, and heavy kick for enders, or go with light punch, medium kick, and jumping heavy for his combo enders. But like I said before, there's probably other people and better players that could probably do way better doing a tutorial than I am, but I'm just putting out my knowledge as to how much I do know about the character. I hope this helps anyone that wants to get into playing Marvel superheroes. This is actually one of my favorite Marvel versus Capcom games to play in general. I play this more than any of the other games, to be honest. And it's actually one of my favorites, especially with the gem system in general. But there's going to be one character for anyone that they'll definitely pick as their main. I go with Blackheart because demons help him rack up meter as well as some. And he has probably some of the, when mastered, you could definitely abuse his light and mediums to great effect. Not to mention if you can get those going, Dark Thunder and Inferno Mind Games can even work well. And he's also got very good supers. Of course, Captain America's Final Justice is nothing to slouch at either. Actually, before we close, I want to see what that's not what I meant to do. I'm gonna wait until I get there we go. Let's see what happens when we do it without the shield. So we got a total of 54 damage without the shield. So it's basically the same regardless if Cap doesn't have the shield. But technically, once you master his combo game as well as all this. Cap's going to be actually a very good player to pick on because he's pretty average and he does pretty darn well. He's not exactly a huge combo menace like Wolverine, Psylocke, and Spider-Man are, but good grief, once you get his combos going, he's going to be very good no matter what level your skill level is. For the most part, he is going to be very good. He's overall a good player, very easy to pick up, and very good specials to memorize. There's not much I can say about this character in general for gameplay wise, but if you ever see anyone play high level Cap, just watch those videos so you can get a general good idea as to how this character gets played at a very high level. But anyway, that's going to be it for me. When I do highlight this later on, I will put in timestamps to for each of the discussions, which is going to be movement, normals, throws, specials, and supers, and of course miscellaneous. So, well, I probably won't put miscellaneous, but you get the idea. But anyway, I hope this my guide will help anyone get into this game or into this character. I might do other guides in the near future. But if you do like the content, feel free to follow on my Twitch channel and as well as sub to it if you want. I do have a YouTube channel, so I recommend subscribing to that as well. And I will catch you all later. I will have this either uploaded later today or tomorrow. So this is RotorStorm331 signing off. Have a great day. Take care, and I will see you all next week.